Hello friends, myself Professor Khemchand Surana. In last session we have started the drugs acting on trypanosomiasis and leishmaniasis. In the last session we have seen what is the basic trypanosomiasis, the different forms of this trypanosomiasis. In that we have seen Chagas disease. Then further we have seen the African trypanosomiasis. Then life cycle of both these Chagas disease as well as African trypanosomiasis, and we have started with the treatment of trypanosomiasis. In that we have seen the first drug, that is suramine sodium, and second pentamidine isthionate. Now in today's lecture we will continue with the treatment of trypanosomiasis. In that the third drug is nifurtimox. So the structure of nifurtimox is given over here. So nitro group is there, then furan is there, CH double bond N, then 6 member whatever the 6 member ring with sulfur, and CH3 is there. So this is what the nifurtimox structure. So nifurtimox is thought to undergo reduction followed by oxidation. So now further this nifurtimox, how it will be act basically. So it will goes to the reduction followed by oxidation. So initially reduction will be there and then oxidation will be there, and in this process they will generate the ROS, reactive oxygen species, such as superoxide radical anion, hydrogen peroxide and hydroxyl radicals. So through reduction and oxidation they will generate ROS such as the superoxide radical or the hydrogen peroxide or the hydroxyl radicals. These species are potent oxidant producing oxidative stress that may produce damage to the DNA. So these are what basic potent oxidants. What are the ROS were there? They were potent oxidants, and they were produces the oxidative trace and damage to the DNA and lipid that may affect cellular membrane. So how they were act basically through whatever the reactive oxygen species, they will generate the oxidative stress and damages the DNA. So nifurtimox is the drug of choice for the treatment of acute Chagas disease. For acute Chagas disease, this nifurtimox has been utilized. So now the next drug, that is fourth drug for the treatment of trypanosomiasis, is eflornithine. Eflornithine is also called as orninidil. The structure of this eflornithine is given over here: NH2 CH2 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 C CHF2 COH NH2. So difluoromethyl ornithine, in short DMFO, synthesized in 1978 by Metcalfe and al. as ornithine decarboxylase inhibitor. So basically what happened in 1978 by Metcalfe and their colleagues, they were synthesized these difluoromethyl ornithine, means DMFO, which is what ornithine decarboxylase inhibitor. So role of polyamines as a regulator of growth processes. So what is the role of these basic ornithine decarboxylase is they were role into the polyamines as a regulator of growth processes. For growth processes regulation, this ODC is required. So ODC catalyzes the conversion of ornithine to protizine basically 1,4-diaminobutane, which in turns leads to the formation of polyamines spermine and spermidine. So this ODC basically catalyzes the conversion of ornithine to protizine. Protizine is 1,4-diaminobutane, and which converts or the form the polyamines spermine and spermidine basically. So mode of action of this eflornithine. So DMFO, dimethyl whatever the difluoromethyl ornithine, is what a suicide inhibitor of ODC, pyridoxal phosphate dependent enzyme. So this is what called as a suicide inhibitor of ODC, pyridoxal phosphate dependent enzyme. So alkylation of ODC, means ornithine decarboxylase, blocks the synthesis of protizine, the rate limiting step in the synthesis of polyamines. So already we have seen this ODC having role into the synthesis of different polyamines. So by alkylation of this ODC through this eflornithine, they will block the synthesis of protein, which is what the rate limiting step in case of synthesis of polyamines. So, mammalian ODC can also be inhibited, but because of the turnover of ODC is so rapid in case of mammals. So, mammalian ODC also inhibited, but whatever the synthesis or the production of this ODC in case of mammals is more rapid. So, eflornithine does not produces any kind of side effects. So, here the inhibition of ornithine decarboxylase by eflornithine given enzyme cis-HS. So, eflornithine is there by pyridoxal 5 phosphate. So, whatever the pyridoxal will be attaches to the NH2 of this particular eflornithine structure. Further, in second stage, from the intermediate CO2 and fluorine will be removed, you will get another intermediate. So, again in the presence of ODC, enzyme cis-SH means ODC, ornithine decarboxylase, it will form complex with these intermediate. Further, through the this bond between pyridoxal and SH shifted to the between nitrogen and SH, and further subsequent bond will shifted to the carbon. For there is what removal of fluorine. By removal of fluorine we will get the another intermediate, and further the pyridoxal phosphate will remove, we will get the complex. So, this is what the inhibition of ornithine decarboxylase means. Whatever the ODC will involve into the regulation of growth and synthesis of different polyamines. So, this ODC will form the complex with the structure which eflornithine will form the adduct with this ODC and inhibited the subsequent processes. So, this is what the inhibition process or mode of action of eflornithine. So, now further drug is benzimidazole. The structure is given over here. 1,3 is imidazole, nitro group at second position, and further CH2, C double bond NH2, CH2 and benzene ring is there. So, benzimidazole is the second of the drugs approved for the treatment of Chagas disease. So, it is what the second drug for the treatment of Chagas disease, approved second drug. Like nifurtimox, it is effective against circulatory form of Trypanosoma cruzi. So, similar like nifurtimox, it is what effective against circulatory form of Trypanosoma cruzi during the acute phases of the disease, and it is effective during the chronic stages of the disease. So, also it is what in chronic condition it is what effective. So, benzimidazole undergoes and one electron transfer to the nitro group. So, how it will act basically? So, benzimidazole having a nitro group will be there. So, the one electron transfer to the nitro group, which in turns dismutate to give back to the nitroimidazole. So, by shifting of this electron, it will gives the nitroimidazole and nitrosoimidazole. So, latter product may then further undergo the electrophilic addition to the trypanothione. So, which leads to depletion of trypanothione is an essential enzyme system in the Trypanosoma cruzi. So, basically how it will act? So, Trypanosoma cruzi is there, in that whatever the trypanothione is what essential component for the growth of Trypanosoma cruzi. So, what will happen? Benzimidazole having a nitro group. So, one electron will transfer to the nitro group, which converts this benzimidazole into the nitroimidazole and nitrosoimidazole. So, by conversion of this benzimidazole into nitroimidazole and nitrosoimidazole, they were leads to or undergo the electrophilic addition to trypanothione. As this trypanothione leads to deplete or decreases the concentration of these trypanothione, which leads to a particular system or death of particular system of Trypanosoma cruzi. So, this is what the mode of action. So, again here given, so it is what the proposed that the benzimidazole undergoes one electron transfer to the nitro group, which in turns to dismutate to give back nitroimidazole and nitrosoimidazole. Further latter they were the product leads to the electrophilic addition to the trypantheon, and which leads to depression of trypantheon, which is essential enzyme in the system of Trypanosoma cruzi. So, this benznidazole is not available in the US, but available in the South American countries, and it is basically administered through the orally in the form of tablet. So, this is the reaction of this mechanism is given over here are NO2. NO2 is essential component for this benznidazole. So, one electron will shifted and it will converted into the nitroimidazole structure, and further they were whatever the electrophilic addition reaction with the trypantheon means this 2H and this particular one electron transfer imidazole component, they were formed these particular nitrosoimidazole derivative, imidazole derivative and nitrosoimidazole derivative, which leads to depletion of trypantheon. So, this is what the mode of action of benznidazole. So, now next drug is melarsoprol. Melarsoprol is again what the useful into the treatment of trypanosomiasis. So, structure is given over here, it is what arsenic containing drug basically. So, no structure is given over here, you can see. So, knowingly or unknowingly arsenic containing drugs have been used for the treatment of parasitic conditions for the thousands of years. So, this is what the arsenic containing compound knowingly or unknowingly it is useful for treatment of this trypanosomiasis. In the late 80s, early 90s, in the late 80s and early 90s, Paul Ehrlich introduced the use of trivalent arsenicals. Melarsoprol, which is an organoarsenical, come into the use in 1940s, and it remains the first choice of drug for the treatment of trypanosomiasis. Until 1990s, it also was only treatment for the last stage or the late stage sleeping sickness. So, this is what the drug where organoarsenical is there and utilized as a first choice of drug, and also useful into the last stage of sleeping sickness. So, the mechanism is given over here. So, the arsenic containing compound will R group will be there. So, whatever these structure of particular trivalent arsenic containing compound melarsoprol, which will form the complex with the sulfur containing protein, and will get these kinds of particular intermediates, they were shows the mechanism of action against trypanosoma species. So, this is what particular mode of action. So, it is what known that the trivalent arsenic reacts rapidly and reversibly with sulfhydryl containing proteins. So, we have seen here this whatever the arsenic containing compound will reacts rapidly and reversibly with sulfhydryl containing protein. It is generally accepted that the enzyme with which melarsoprol react is an enzyme involved in glycolysis and result in inhibition of pyruvate kinase. So, what will happen basically, they will rapidly reacts with this particular sulfhydryl containing protein, and what will happen basically, so they were involved into the particular enzyme of the glycolysis, and which results the pyruvate kinase activity. So, blockage of glycolysis would be the expected to lead to loss of motility of the cells. So, whatever the glycolysis cycle or the enzymes involved in glycolysis cycle, so they were disturbed because of this complex of sulfhydryl protein and arsenic containing compound. They were leads to loss the motility and cell lysis will be there. So, more recently Fairlab and al. have proposed the mechanism of action that results in the inhibition of trypantheon reductase. So, again recently the report says that, so the glycolysis is what first mechanism. Now recently they were particular these Fairlab and al. So, they were says that there is inhibition of trypantheon reductase is there, and formation of stable complex between melarsoprol and trypantheon will be there. So, melarsoprol reacts with the cysteine sulfhydryl of the trypantheon to form the stable adduct. So, supportive of this mechanism is the synergistic action of the melarsoprol with eflornithine. So, two drugs that produces sequential blockage of the synthesis of trypantheon. So, this is what about the drugs acting on the trypanosomiasis. Now, we will start the next portion, that is what leishmaniasis. Now, again quite simple and short topic. So, leishmaniasis is there, so which is caused by the protozoa genus Leishmania. The vector, how it will be transmitted by the sandfly basically. So, sandfly is there, so through sandfly they were transmitted. So, visceral leishmaniasis also called as kala azar or black fever. So, again leishmaniasis having different types. So, visceral leishmaniasis is also called as kala azar or black fever. So, this point should be asked in GPAT examination. So, need to remember. So, which is caused by Leishmania donovani. So, the species Leishmania donovani. So, it is what the species which will cause this leishmaniasis. So, this is the form of the disease is systematic and is characterized in the patient by the fever, typically nocturnal, diarrhea, cough, enlarged liver and spleen. So, these are what particular characteristics. So, fever is there, nocturnal, then diarrhea, cough, enlarged liver, spleen, skin of the patient may become darkened. So, these are what the some characteristics of this leishmania patient. So, you can see the particular patient of the leishmaniasis. So, you can see the pictorial diagram where the patient with this leishmaniasis. So, the drug therapy for leishmaniasis here is given. So, the heavy metal compound such as arsenicals, antimonials and sometimes effective but frequently toxic. So, whatever the heavy metals will be there such as arsenicals or the antimonials, they were effective but in large concentration they were toxic to the body. So, suramine appears to be some of value in the long and short terms prophylaxis. So, already we have seen the suramine sodium. So, this is what the some value in the long as well as short term. So, this suramine is useful in both trypanosomiasis as well as leishmaniasis. So, the nitrofuran derivatives such as nifurtimox, this is what already we have seen. Nifurtimox may be the major assets in the control of these diseases, but its potential toxicity remains to be fully determined. So, these nifurtimox already we have seen. So, again this is what useful in case of these, what having potential toxicity. So, it should be determined basically. So, now treatment of leishmaniasis particularly. So, this suramine sodium and nifurtimox which we have already seen, which is useful in both cases, trypanosomiasis as well as leishmaniasis. So, you can write in both cases. So, again the treatment of leishmaniasis, in that first drug sodium stibogluconate. So, sodium stibogluconate is what antimony based drug is there. So, you can see the structure SB means antimony is given. So, the structure is quite simple, need to remember, just draw in your notebook. So, antimony based drug were introduced as a therapeutic agent to treat these diseases, although the structure of sodium stibogluconate is commonly drawn as shown and the actual compound probably much more complex. So, basic structure is given over here, but whatever the actual structure is much more complex. So, this is what the antimony based drug sodium stibogluconate. So, the drug is water soluble preparation that administered intramuscularly or IVly. Pentavalent antimony compound are thought to be inhibit bioenergetic processes in the pathogens with catabolism of glucose and inhibition of glycolytic enzymes. So, basically how it will act this sodium stibogluconase. So, this is what pentavalent antimony compound. So, whatever the energetic processes will be there means catabolism of glucose or glycolytic processes. So, they will inhibit these bioenergetic processes with the catabolism of glucose and inhibition of glycolytic enzymes being the primary site of action. So, glucose catabolism is 86% to 94% inhibited. So, this in turns result in inhibition of adenosine triphosphate or guanosine triphosphate formation. So, what is basic mechanism of action of this sodium stevogluconate is there? They will inhibit the bioenergetic processes, catabolize the glucose and inhibition of glycolytic enzymes. So, by these processes inhibition, so inhibition of ATP and GTP will be there, whatever ATP GTP formation will be there, that will be inhibited. So, this is what mode of action of stevogluconate. So, sodium stevogluconate is the drug of choice for the treatment of most form of leishmaniasis. So, most of forms of leishmaniasis, this sodium stevogluconate is useful, or meglumine, antimonate and other pentavalent antimony agents also useful. So, recommended dose is near about 20 mg antimony per kg per day, not to exceed 850 mg antimony per day basically. So, 20 mg is sufficient. So, the number of other drugs have been reported to be effective in the treatment of leishmaniasis, and these include basically pentamidine, amphotericin. Pentamidine already we have seen. So, amphotericin is antibiotic, paramomycin is antibiotics. So, alkyl phosphocholine analogs is there, also rifampicin, ketoconazole. So, these kinds of drug is also useful in case of leishmaniasis. So, now second drug in case of this leishmaniasis is miltefosine. So, you can see the structure of miltefosine is given over here. So, phosphate containing structure CH3 CH2 15 times O, P double bond O, O minus CH2 CH2 and CH3 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 is there. So, miltefosine is an orally active drug that is effective against visceral as well as cutaneous leishmaniasis. So, it is what useful in both cases, visceral as well as cutaneous leishmaniasis. There are two types of leishmaniasis, visceral leishmaniasis and cutaneous leishmaniasis. So, it is effective in both cases. Although the drug has not been approved by the FDA and compensate the use protocol is pending basically. So, it is not approved drug by the FDA. Miltefosine, the drug, is essentially important since only the other drugs available in case of sodium stevogluconate, which is administered intramuscularly, IVly, thus its limiting its utility and has high potential for toxicity associated with the antimony component of the drug. So, miltefosine has been reported to exhibit activity in vitro against a broad range of leishmanial strains. So, in case of what? So, number of drugs has been available, they were administered IVly or intramuscularly, but having a higher potency of toxicity, so that whatever the drug has been given into the particular doses, and they were exhibit the activity in vitro in broad range of leishmanial strains. So, although the mechanism of action of the drug remains unknown, so whatever the mechanism is unknown, but the mechanism of action of miltefosine is suggested that they will directly act on the promastigate and amastigate stages of the parasite. We have seen the life cycle where the promastigate and amastigates form of the particular trypanosoma and leishmania species is given. So, where they will directly act and not through the stimulation of immune system, means they were not touches to the immune system, they were only act on these promastigate and amastigate forms. This distinction is important because the patient who are immunocompromised may also suffer from the leishmaniasis, because the immune system is more important in case of this. So, it is what in case of these immunocompromised patients, it is what the important thing should be considered. So, thank you.